Hello and welcome to Papercrafting Playdate. My name is Robin Armbrecht at Really Robin Stamps. Thank you for joining me today. It is October 24th, 2025. It is Friday in my world. No matter when you're watching this, if you're joining me live right now or you are going to watch this later, very happy that you are going to hang out with me and we're going to make another fun fold today. This is episode 162 of Papercrafting Playdate, and so there are lots of tutorials out there for you to watch if you are brand new. And I always forget to mention that the supplies that I use, the links to the blog post where you can get the PDF, it's all in the description box for the video. So that's where you want to look if you need more information about the projects, and how to communicate with me and all that good stuff. Okay, I think we're good. Let me see if we are. Yay. Okay, I have some cards to share. So let me share those before we get started. I love to share your creations first thing, so anything that I get in the mail, I share immediately. So isn't this a gorgeous Halloween card? I love it's just two colors. It's got two kinds of glimmer paper, a black glimmer paper for the cat silhouette, and then this gorgeous yellow, golden yellow. It's beautiful. This is from my friend Jill. We just got to stamp together this week. We did a little, look at the little ticket, it's so cute. We got to do a fun little party. We did a party this week. It was lovely, and so she gave these to everybody who came, and I think that is just so cute. Thank you, Jill. This is from my friend Mary. And this has a lot of similarities to the fun fold we're going to make today. Let me show you the bottom. I think I just saw this fun fold when I was looking on Pinterest, and I can't remember what it's called. But it has this fun little base right here, and it sits like that. So it's a great display card. Very fun. Mary always sends me the great fun folds that I haven't learned yet, so here's another one. So I thank you so much, Mary. And I needed to hold this closer to see if you can catch the shimmer on her pumpkins. Maybe I can get it up there. She used the Wink of Stella on her pumpkins, and they are gorgeous. Excellent coloring. Love everything about it. And then here is another one. Look how beautiful these both are colored. This one's from Susie. She is also one of the demonstrators in my Butterfly Friends group. And she created this beautiful card front layered with the leaves and those fun pumpkins, stamped with this exposed brick in the background. Love it, love it, love it. This is from Sarah. She sends me such cute cards. I love this paper. It's not Stampin' Up, but look how all of the little patterns coordinate together. So cute. The little witch is just adorable. Thank you so much, Sarah. You do such good work on your cards. I love them. And here's another beautiful card. I forgot to open this one up. Alberta. This is from Alberta. And she sent me this beautiful tree. I didn't get this wild tree set. That's not what it's called, but it's a twisted tree, twisted trunks maybe, something like that. All those beautiful layers to create the branches and the leaves on that tree. And I love your shading in the background, how you just created your own paper using the blending brushes to create the scene behind your tree. Oh, good. Louise says, this is called a honeycomb pop-out. Yep, that's exactly what it was. I just couldn't remember that name. And this is one that Susan Campfield has done recently. So you can go check that out. Definitely, you can put that in Pinterest too, and you're going to see a bunch of them. A honeycomb pop out, really cute. I guess that's because the top looks like that honeycomb type shape. So this is so cute. And Alberta said, sorry for stamping crooked on the inside. You know what? This is what happens, right? You focus on the outside of the card, and then you get to the inside, and you end up stamping it crooked. And I think it's actually a delightful little thing that happens. Keeps you humble, right? And it also reminds the person who you're sending it to that you're sending a homemade card. And I think that's important too. All right, so there's only one more week in October that you can earn my card kit. I send these out to my customers who spend $50 or more with me as a reward, as a thank you for shopping with me. So this is the Peaceful Garden Designer Series paper. So it's coordinated in the kit with cardstock, some ribbon, and some of these beautiful flower embellishments. Once the month of October is over, then I mail these out to everybody who ordered in October and met that qualifying amount, which is not hard to do because today is the last day of a 3-day shipping from Stampin' Up. So if you spend $75 or more, today is the last day, you get free shipping. So that's wonderful. Twisted in Time. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys are here. That tree set's called Twisted in Time. Thank you. All right. I left myself this reminder because this is the last thing. For the rest of the month, Stampin' Up is offering their starter kit to join to be a demonstrator. That you've got two options. You can join for $35 or $99. You build a kit for this cost, and the amount of the products that you get are $125 when you spend $35 or $189 for $99. So you've got two choices for the rest of this month. If you are interested in becoming a demonstrator, the perk of being a demonstrator is that you get 20% off on your purchases once you buy this starter kit. And if you want to keep being a demonstrator, you have to spend $300 every quarter. So you can kind of do the math and think about what you spend on craft supplies and think about if that might be a good advantage for you. I'm going to stand up to take advantage of that great starter kit. You can drop at any time and go back to being a customer if you end up not spending that much. So there's no downside to it, and you can just shop for yourself and be a discount purchaser, or you can run it as a business like I do, or any version of that. Stampin' Up welcomes all different kinds of demonstrators. Okay, so take a deep breath. Okay, I was going to do playing with words, and I was going to focus on the alphabet dies. And so that's what I worked on this week. And then I saw yesterday that they are not available. They are on back order until November. And so I changed gears this morning to do another fun fold. So we are doing a fun fold that I've played with a little bit, and I just haven't got around to sharing it yet with you. You've probably seen it. It's one that can look like it's kind of complicated, but it's very simple. So this is called a bandstand card. I've also seen it titled a half hexagon card, and you can see why, because it has like three sides of like what a stop sign would be, right? So a half hexagon, but I see it more often called a bandstand card. That's what we're going to do today. I like that this fun fold is following up after last week's fun fold, which was a triple panel Z fold, because they have similar elements to them. So if you have done this one from last week, This is going to be a piece of cake. If you haven't done either of them, once you kind of get the pieces out and you start working on either of these fun folds, they have a lot of things in common. So you might as well work on both of them. So we're going to use some brand new product. Every few months, Stampin' Up! Releases products right into the online store. So they're not in any catalog, but there is a PDF. Okay, so this comes out the first week of November. Let me check the date. I can't believe that's going to be in just a little tiny bit. I believe it's going to come out on the 5th or the 4th of November. And that's when you can download this PDF on that day. So there's several suites, lots of bundles, some really fun things that I'm going to share with you. We're going to start off our bandstand card using this new suite of products called Hobby Haven. And this is the package of designer series paper. I'm going to put my glasses back on because I can't read the comments. Hey, Roxanne. Oh, good. She's putting up her feet. I think you need to do that. I'm not as organized as I usually am today because I switched gears this morning. And so this is a good time to put your feet up. Look at all the colors that is in this pack of paper I'm about to show you. Really excited that Coastal Cabana is one of the colors in here. Such a great color. It hasn't really been in any designer series paper for a while. There's also Lost Lagoon and our Secret Sea. And then we've got the greens, Mossy Meadow, Garden Green. And then we've got the browns, Pecan Pie, Basic Beige, Early Espresso, Pop of Cajun Craze, which goes lovely with the Petal Pink. And then there's a little bit of the new Darling. Nope, this is Daffodil Delight, I believe. Yes. Pretty sure it looks like Daffodil Delight. So it's one of those packs of paper that even if you don't have all of these, it's you can use it with your neutrals like Crumb Cake and Basic Beige. So let me show you. So this first sheet is a sheet of die cuts. You get 2 of them, the same. And I can't wait to pop these all out and just put them together. So we've got the die cuts. And then each sheet of the papers have some kind of like, I guess it's a hobby. Not technically all of them I would call a hobby. So this sheet clearly is like sewing and yarn crafts. Adorable. I just want to frame this whole page. This one is for the plant lover, the person who has plants everywhere. I love it. Like that pop of Coastal Cabana is so pretty, isn't it? This one is for cooking, baking and coffee. Got our espresso maker here, our cookbook. So is that a hobby? I guess cooking is a hobby. This one is all about spa, taking care of your skin, botanical type elements to it, little bottles of lotions and creams. And then the last one is for the reader. We've got the different lamps, the big bookmarks, and the piles of books. This paper is great. The colors are just really nice. And I think it's fun that this is coming out in November because that's about the time when I'm making so many Christmas cards and I just want something else to look at the same time. That's different. That's not necessarily holiday themed. Here are the B sides. So beautiful little patterns to use. All right, so what we're going to do is use this piece with the plants. And let's make that bandstand card. Okay, so let's put the directions over here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So here are the pieces you need for the bandstand card. It's so easy. So you need one piece that's a quarter sheet of 8.5 by 11. So 5.5 by 4.25. And you need 2 strips that are 7 inches long and 1.25 inches wide. And then we need some designer series paper to decorate. So I'm just going to pull this out here. So I'm using the B side to decorate some of this. So 2 of the pieces are 1 3/4 inch by 1, and then 4 of the pieces are 1.5 by 1. We'll bring those back out. And then we have a piece that's going to be kind of for the background. That's 3 3/4 by 4. And then the same paper is 1/2 inch by 4. Okay, so this will all be on a PDF for you to look at. So let's put this card together first. And so we're going to score. So this sheet here, that's 5.5 by 4.25, our quarter sheet. We're going to score at 3/4 of an inch from each edge. So I'm using my ruler that goes this way here, and I'm just going to turn this around and measure twice. Okay, so now I've got 3/4 of an inch, okay, on each side. That's going to kind of create the back of our card. And then on these strips, you're going to measure at 3/4 and 2.5. And then flip it around and do the same thing. 3/4, 2.5. Okay, so these all get folded in the same direction, like this. Okay, so we've made our score lines. So the large piece of designer series paper that's going to be the back of your bandstand card can be any kind of pattern, or you can stamp your own design. We're going to actually put little tiny 1/2 inch strips here to cover up where we glue these together, which you'll see when it comes together. So when you have a scene kind of like this, if you want to, you can cut an entire piece that's 4 3/4 by 4. And then we're going to cut off the 1/2 inch from each side. We'll cut 1/2 inch off, so that's going to go here. And then we'll cut off of the other side 1/2 inch. And that's going to go here. And then when we put it together, it's kind of in the background, so this is not a huge deal. But I think some of you would like to do that if you want to keep that scene. If your background paper is just a general pattern, then you just need to do 1/2 inch strips here, and then a 3 3/4 by 4. Yes, Pamela, I plan on doing the word Playdate later. I'm so sorry I had to switch gears today because I've got some ideas to share. So that's one of my favorite things is putting words and phrases together. So yes, that will be happening. Okay, so let's start gluing. Now we're going to wait and put these strips on, but we're going to put this one in the middle here first. Like that. And then you're going to need one the exact same size in a neutral color to go on the back. That's going to be where your personal message will go. Okay, so here's our strips. So when you make those score lines, remember it's 3/4 inch and then 2.5 inch from each edge. The 3 sections are not the same size. The one in the center is a little bit bigger, and so that's why you need the 1 3/4 inch by 1 to go there, and then the 1.5 to go in the other 4. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on before we put these strips attached to the other card. And so I'm going to put the longer ones on first since I'm using all the same designer series paper. So the size of this designer series paper being 1 inch leaves a nice 1/8 inch border in all of these sections. I'll hold it up close so you can see. So you could definitely make your designer series paper a little bit larger by like 1/8 of an inch if you wanted to fill in more of that spot. Okay, so these are going to attach like this. These little flaps that don't have the designer series paper on them, you're going to put the adhesive here on these ends, and it's going to attach to the 3/4 inch sections over here. And so these are bending out like that. So let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and use liquid glue, but you could use any strong adhesive. So I'm going to set that one first. And then do that one. And then I'm just going to press it flat because that's the beauty of this card is that it is absolutely flat and mailable. But then it pops up into that bandstand. So I like to get one side set and then do the other side. If I put glue on both sides, it's a little dangerous in case you drop it. So I'm going to squeeze those together, make sure it's laying flat, and then I'm just going to use the bone folder and reinforce those. Okay, so you can see how the little seam peeks through, and now that we've attached those bands, we can put these pieces in. So it's a little tricky to do it after the fact, but we do that because you can see those flaps inside, which is not a huge deal, especially if you're using the same color cardstock like I am, but it does make it look nice and finished to stick that in there. So the way that works best is to just add your adhesive and then kind of hold it open with liquid glue. You can wiggle it around. So that's always my first choice for when I'm attaching paper, because I can have a little bit of a slide if I don't lay it down right in the the first time. Okay, so there is our bandstand card. So easy. And all you have left to do is decorate it. So we're going to use the bundle that is part of the suite that goes with this paper. I feel like it kind of stands alone. It's not necessarily related to all of the craft things. It just is kind of a greeting and shape set. So if you've been watching other demonstrators, they've probably already showed you the new packaging for the stamp sets and dies that is starting to be rolled out by Stampin' Up! With this release of the November online exclusives, and then going forward, all of the new products, stamps and dies, are going to be in this packaging. And so I just took my same little magnet sheets that I use, and I'm putting them together just like I do with a stamp set. So this is how this bundle came. Here's the stamp set. Here's the dies. They were bundled together for 10% off. And so you can see this is Creative Haven stamp set dies. This alerts you that it's a dies, and then here's the dies name. And so I just took my dies off of the card. I usually store this. I keep it. I just like to keep them together. And so I'm going to put both of these in this envelope so that they're together as a bundle. That's just kind of how I do it. So what we're going to do is take this little banner and create our focal point on some Coastal Cabana. So we're going to make that color pop. And we're going to emboss, because that's fun. So I'm inking in Versamark. That's my sticky clear ink. So you can't even really see that. Just leaves a watermark. And we're going to emboss it in white. So I have my container of white here that I dumped into a little bin to make it easier. And I keep this in a drawer so I can just kind of pull it in and out. Okay, so that's going to be our white powder. Plus it gives me the opportunity to use these baby spoons that I can't get rid of, but they're perfect for embossing powder. Okay, let's watch the magic happen. Okay, as soon as my heat tool heats up to the right temperature, which usually takes about 30 seconds, you can start to see it melting. Once a section is melted, you just move on to the next section, because it's done as soon as it's melted. going to cut this out. Friends like you are golden. That's very sweet. I haven't had a saying like that before. The other sayings are, you've got this, deep breath, you're the best. And then the smaller ones, so happy to have you in my life, and you deserve all the good things. And then a little background. So they all kind of have this like, would you call that kind of like filigree a little bit. Background. Here's how it looks. Stamped in Coastal Cabana on white. So it's really pretty. Super easy. Gives you a lot of options. So the dies are nice because you can center. So let's say you want to make this a tag. You can center this before you as you cut it, and your options are a single hole, or then like a more of a slit hole, depending on the ribbon that you're using. And then there's also a rounded one that you can use for this little arch or for this oval. And then there's two square tags, or I guess they're not really square cornered, but rectangular, and they already have the little tag like shape at the top with the hole, and then just more of that filigree so you can add some detail. So kind of fun. I feel like this sentiment set can stand alone. So whatever you decide to put on the front of your bandstand card really just has to span the gap here, because you want to attach it usually on the top and the bottom. Okay, so this one's nice and big, but I like that it has that big kind of pop. So we're going to attach it at the very top and then at the bottom. And it's just about as big as this section. So I didn't put glue all the way to the edge. That way there's a little bit of room. I should get it on straight though. That would be great. There's a little bit of room when it stands up like that on this little edge there. All right, and we are going to add, I already cut out some of the greenery to add just another little color in here. And what I like about this greenery is you can kind of just like tuck it around like that. Let's use our detailed. Our detail glue. This is the same liquid glue. I just put it in a little bottle. So I'm going to try to not cover up the golden all the way. So I'm attaching it on the back first, and then I'm going to just tack it down right here. These little bottles you can get on Amazon, and then I just put an entire bottle of the liquid glue in here, and it has a fine tip point, so it's a little bit easier when you're doing things like this. And then we'll just add this one up here. this is part of the suite. This ribbon is garden green, has these little chevrons on it. Garden green and white. It's 1/8 of an inch. Before I get any dimension on that, I'm going to stamp on the back that other little greeting. Okay, so I've been asked to do a bow in slow motion for people who have a hard time tying bows. And so this is for Dawn, who asked if I could do this. And I told her I'll try really hard, but you know how a lot of things are muscle memory, like tying your shoes or tying a necktie. And when you slow the process down, you kind of, your hands forget what it's doing, right? So the other side of that is if you practice tying a bow every single day with different widths of ribbon, you're going to get better at it. But here is kind of just the basics of what I've learned. So I tie this basically the same as I tie my shoes. The only thing that I do is I make very certain that my ribbons are laying flat together. So when I make my first loop, I make sure that the loop isn't twisted. Okay, so I don't just do that. I make sure they're laying on top of each other, and then they're going in the same direction. Okay, and so when you go to make the center part of your bow, that's coming from the one that's on the bottom. Okay, so I lay the short piece that's going to tie on the left is going to be on the top. The one that's going to wrap around and make the other loop is going to be on the bottom. And so when I go to make that loop, I make sure that it comes up straight and goes right over so that we get that nice middle part of the bow and it's not twisted. So I'm pinching all three of those things now. So that is where I wrapped it around is now behind that loop. Okay, so it's coming out from here. I make another loop and I'm going to make sure it goes in that hole straight. So I'm not going to like twist it around and put it in there. I'm going to make sure it stays flat. So I'm going to pull this loop up this way and stick that in. Okay, this is the hard part then when you've got to like make them all come together. And this is why when you slow it down, it makes it hard. So my center little loop got wide, so I'm just readjusting these. And as I pull this closed, I'm going to make sure that this has stayed flat and that this has stayed flat and that center is flat. And then you just have to hold it in the center real loosely and adjust these. So you got to pull them in and then pull them back out and then pull them in and pull them back out. And you just keep your eye on that inside to make sure that stays flat and that your loops stay flat. That's just how I do it. So I can't show you any other way because that's how I do it. Now I'm going to do it again because this ended up being really long. And I'm just going to shorten that little side. Okay, it's a little bit better. So we're gonna just add this right up here because it's so darn cute. This little chevron's on there. I hope that helps, Dawn, or anybody else. Seriously, just practice tying a bow every day. And there's bow tying things that are actually very helpful. I know there's, there's a way to do it with your two fingers somehow, and you put the thing around there. I don't know how to do it that way, so but that looks really easy too. Okay, let's add some petal pink embellishments here. Just a couple. We're just going to stick them right on. No, I don't like that. Come back over here. We'll do that. I like them better in a triangle. So they just kind of pull the pink in, so they're real subtle. And then when the card is displayed, you can see the little furniture in the background, but your main message is popped out. Would you change the tying if your ribbon wasn't double-sided? Yes. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so I've made these. I was going to do this Playdate a while ago. So this is paper that I believe is still available. It was with, and I can't remember the name of it. But here is another version. So this one just has like kind of plain background paper inside. And then kind of the bright happy on the front. This, I think, was last fall's paper. I don't remember. Everyday Happiness. So it's got stripes and checks. Stripes are great going across these strips. So let's do this again. And I just want to show you cutting from an entire piece of paper. You get two, is my point. Okay, so I'm going to cut it in half like I'm making 2 full-size cards. Then I'm going to turn this piece and cut it in half. Okay, so these would be your 2 bases if you're making cards at the same time. And then you've got half a sheet left over. And if you want to cut your strips at the same time, you need a piece that's 7 by 2.5. So I'm just going to trim this to 2.5. And then trim it down to 7. Okay, so this is going to be our 2 strips. I'm going to score them at the same time to make it easier on us. So 3/4, 2.5, turn it around, 3/4, 2.5. And then I'm going to cut them in half to make the 2 strips at 1 1/4. Okay, so that, and then you've got another piece here to do the same. So you could put it all together and do all 4 strips at one time. And you've basically used almost a full sheet of cardstock. You'll have just a little bit left over. So just so you can kind of see, you might as well make 2 if you're going to make 1. let's score this one. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the process. I'm going to do it a little bit faster. Perhaps. I'm going to use the sewing version of this paper. So I can't wait to send this to my mom. And I think I just did that the wrong size. I sure did. I did 3/4 instead of a 1/2 inch. So we're gonna make it work. And then we'll cut a 1/2 inch off this side. So this goes on the inside. I love all the little notions in here. There's like a little thing with lace. I saw rickrack. So cute. So this was my little accident piece. I'm just gonna piece that in here. And no one will know except you and me. So I'm just using my bone folder to press along that where those papers meet, and it gets rid of the seam, and you can just barely see that was cut apart. Yes, you can make 2 cards from 1 sheet of paper. So this outside I'm going to do kind of monochromatic. I'll do this background paper that's Coastal Cabana colored. So cute. I love that, Sarah. Sarah, I showed your Halloween card earlier. It's so cute. Thank you. So these all get folded in the same direction, so it kind of makes that rounded edge that's going to pop out. And now we attach at the top and the bottom on that 3/4 inch flap. Well, I am enjoying this Coastal Cabana. I haven't played with this color for a while. It's like an old friend. So happy. Okay, so for this one, we're going to use all those little die cut pieces and just create a little focal point cluster to put on the front here. So we're going to bring back the these little ephemera pieces, and I was kind of thinking about starting with this little tag here, but let's just see what else there is. Kind of love the big sewing machine. I love this flower here. There's a pin cushion. Oh my goodness. Look at that little heart. There's a button. This is like a pattern. I love that. A little cup of coffee, a little tea bag. So cute. Kind of like the little coffee cup too. So we're going to use the tag as our little the base of our I can't think and speak at the same time. The base of our focal point cluster. And then we're just going to layer the things together. Kind of love this little tag here, or the label tab. Kind of cute. Up there, and you can put the heart on it. Okay, so we've kind of got some greenery here, but we need just a little bit more of greenery. Obviously, we could cut more greenery with those dies, but I'm just going to use this little piece here. Stick that over there. Okay. So now I need to pop all of these out because they're falling out, and put them in a little envelope. So let's glue these down. And don't forget, you get 2 sheets. We'll use our ribbon again. So when you have a hole for a tag and you want to put ribbon through it, this is how I do it. You can obviously just stick this in and tie it, but I like to make a loop, and I usually give it just a little, I kind of picture it how long it would be. I'm not going to make it quite that long, so I make a loop. Then you stick the loop in from the front of whatever the tag is. And then, here, I'll trim this will make it easier. And then you stick the ends through that loop in the back. And that will put the loop at the top of your tag. So try it out both ways so you can see what the difference is, but this is how I like for it to look. Okay, what we don't have on here is, oh, that's so cute, a greeting. And so we're going to use this new bundle here. So this is called Banner Sayings, and it's all these cute little tiny sayings, and you can get it bundled with this punch that makes just tiny little flags and an arrow. So this is perfect if you save all these strips that you cut off when you trim down white papers. I always have these 1/2-inch strips everywhere. So what do we want this to say? Such cute sayings. Consider yourself hugged. Oh, I like that one. Let's do that. Okay, so when you've got the small strips like this, it makes this easy. You can literally pick any banner that you want if you want it to just come off like that. I'm thinking if you want it to have the flag ends on both sides, or if you want it to be an arrow. I think I want this one, but I want the flag to come out on this side, so I'm going to flip it around. Let's see, I don't want to cover up too much of the sewing machine. So I usually put just a little bit of glue on my, when I'm making the focal point cluster at first, because that way I can adjust if I need to. I think I'm going to put this over here. Okay, let's attach this. I'm going to use dimensionals to attach it. And that's going to help keep the cluster together as well. So it doesn't really matter that it's hanging off, as long as I don't, it's hanging off the edges here, as long as I don't attach any of that part to anything else. It just has to be attached to the top and bottom section. That a little shorter. And you just stick that in an envelope. I love it. I love it. Just needs a little bling. Okay, that's going to my mom for sure. All right, so here is one with the autumn toile paper. You can see the little scene in the back, and then it has a nice big pumpkin on the front. And then I really wanted to play with the modern Christmas paper, but totally make a card that's not Christmas. And so one of my dear friend's daughters just passed the bar and is now officially a lawyer. And so I used the black and white and gold papers that were not Christmas and made a congratulations card. Could be great for graduation of any kind with just kind of that generic gold and black. This is a new die cut, and I left it loose over here so that it would kind of stand up like that. So I thought that was kind of fun. And then I had all those great little, this is that the many messages that you can cut out with the one die and put that on the back. Very fun. And then I kind of was wondering, what if we used like a vellum and made it so like you could kind of do a little like tea light in there. So this was just my first try today, and let's do it, see if I can lay it down this way. I don't know. My tea light is not very strong at all. But this is just a piece of vellum, and I just did one strip on the bottom and then used vellum for the rest of it. And so just covered the whole thing. So this, somebody else needs to play with this idea too. See what you can come up with. But you could definitely put little focal points in each of these little sections if you wanted to do a little bit more than that. It is a little weird that the sewing machine's facing the wrong way, right? You're looking at the back if someone would be sewing it that way, for sure. It didn't bother me that much because it's the correct way on the inside. That is interesting choice, isn't it? Okay, so there's a version of this card that goes up and down. And that's going to be our last card. Just so you can see the flexibility of the design. And it really works exactly the same way, and there's just a couple measurements that are different. And so this is the same quarter of a card, a piece of cardstock, 5.5 by 4 1/4. And it's still scored at 3/4 inch on each side, but instead of being these sides, it's going to be these sides. And then because this is not as long as the horizontal version, the 1 1/4 inch strips do not need to be as long. They are 5 3/4. And then you score them at 3/4, which is the same, and then 2 inches from each side. So in this case, you get these nice little square section and then a rectangular section in the middle. So this is the other pack of paper that is new, coming out in November. Here are the flower sides. It's called Brushed with Beauty. kind of has a vintage look to it with kind of the pale pink and the browns, a little pop of yellow. And then here are the B sides. We've got some like, looks like acrylic paint in the background, and then some nice stripes. And again, lots of great papers, colors to go with. We've got the petal pink and the coral, secret sea and cloud cover. We've got mossy meadow and old olive, the brown, again, real pop of darling duckling. So that's why I picked this beautiful Calypso coral. Okay, so the piece in the middle is going to be 2.5 by 5 1/4. You're still going to have those 1/2 inch strips that are going to go on the sides. And then these pieces are 1 inch wide. The one in the center is 1.5, and then the other 4 are 1 inch squares to fit in the square pieces, or the square sections. Oops. Oh, good. Sharon says she's made this one before, and she did Easter cards. That'd be perfect. So I'm not going to show you. So there's a lot. I'm sure you guys go on Pinterest too, right? So this gets put together exactly the same way, top and bottom with our strips. I think it was Susan Campfield again, and she puts a little acrylic acetate piece right in between these sections because they're farther apart than they are in the other card. And so it kind of gives a floating aspect to the card if you kind of put things on that acetate. It's very pretty. But if you have any die that can span this gap, then you can just, add a shape. Okay, so that's going to, so it ends up making that hexagon, half hexagon shape again. It's just taller. Stands just as sturdy though. That's really nice. And then we'll put our little side pieces. I'm laughing because Sarah said that this will look great in the dark with the tea light in it, even though we can't see it right now. And Pam said, that sounds funny that you're saying, oh, their card look really good in the dark. We all make those cards, right? They do look better in the dark sometimes. All right, so see, you've got this nice big open space. Honestly, if you popped out something here that was just a nice big greeting, you wouldn't have to span that gap. I feel like you can do so many things with it. But we're gonna just make another little focal point, and we're gonna use another new stamp set that goes with this paper, and it is called Petals of Beauty. You got a sneak peek of this when Stampin' Up! Announced their packaging change. This was the bundle that they used to share that information. And so this is just another great floral set. It has just these nice brush stroke flowers on them and leaves, and then all the dies to cut out. I did start some homework with this to kind of showcase what the stamped images can do, and then what the single dies can do. Yes, when we all first started paper crafting, we made things that were interesting, right? Can't really call them bad because we were learning. It's like the first thing that you ever crocheted or knit maybe didn't necessarily turn out great. I wanted to, so I was looking at these rectangles that I don't know the name of, with their fun shapes, and this little rectangle right here will just about span this gap, and so I cut this one out too, and we're going to layer these together to kind of start our little focal point. Our little focal point. I'm going to call it a cluster because we're adding greenery and all kinds of stuff. And so I'm going to just kind of do that. And then we'll add our greenery. I actually really like looking at cards that I made a long time ago because it's so sweet, and I can remember, you know, like making them and just being so excited about my new hobby, about the tools. You know, every time you get a new tool, you try something different with it. And so even though we kind of look at some of that stuff and go, oof, oh boy, yes, I've come a long way. I think you also remember all the good stuff too. All right, so I'm going to do this two-step flower in Petal Pink. For the first layer, and then Calypso Coral for the second layer, so it'll match our paper. So I'm just going to kind of line that up. Good enough. So we'll do one large flower, one of the smaller flowers. I'm going to do the same thing with the small flower. And then we'll do one stamped leaf. got these a little close. So before I cut them out, I'm just gonna trim them off this paper. Make this all come together. I really like that little stitched stripe down there. So we'll just kind of layer these together. Something like that. We'll pop this one up. So that's just going to kind of sit right there. Obviously, we need a greeting. And I think we should do another one of these little ones because that was just so much fun. Oops, I did that the wrong way. I was going to have it pop out of there. Okay. Now I have one saved for later. Just wanted to pop that right out of the flower. Okay, let's attach this. Give it a hold there for a minute. We've got a proper mess in here today. So we've got some beautiful new pearls of beauty. Embellishments, and I kind of thought these would look really pretty for the insides of the flowers, so with those two sizes we'll do that. Okay, all right, so let's bring our cards back. I ran out of time to make a bunch of these cards, okay? So this is going to have to be on my docket this week. I started one. I was going to just do like a monochromatic one with some paper. Some of the monochromatic paper that you can get in the color families. So this one's just kind of crumb cake. Obviously, it needs like a little flower or something. Thanks, Sarah. So let's bring them back and remember what we did. Oops. There we go. Got our pumpkin. Well, when I first started making cards, I love that we're talking about this because just even the whole, all of card making has become different. It was only inks and paper back then, and embossing sometimes. The dies and the die cuts to cut out all of the things came so much later. So punches, you would have a circle punch and maybe a square punch if you were lucky, and that's about all that you had available with your paper cutter. And so you had to, like, it was more about stamping scenes, I remember, is what I was doing, coloring, and it was great. And I still love all those things. You know, my favorite thing to do ever is to just create backgrounds with my stamps, because that's the first thing I learned how to do. All right, I hope if you haven't made a bandstand card lately or ever, you will give it a try. And if you have made them, but not lately, you'll get them back out, try them with some new paper. What do you guys like, the tall one or the horizontal one? They look really different. I'm a big fan of this one. I think it's more flexible. I think you can do a lot more things to it. And then, yeah, play with the vellum. See if you can make a little tea light. I'm going to read through the comments, but we are done for today. And I'm so excited that you were with me, and look for that PDF a little bit later on my website so that you'll have all the directions to make these cards. And then think about who you might want to send a pop-up card to that would make their day very special. And I hope you do it. I hope you get out your stuff. Oh, Gina, you can't even see the floor. It's a mess. It's a mess, everybody. That's okay. That's what it is. It's crafting. Hi, Marlene. That's my mom's name, too. Thank you. Thank you so much. Tony likes the modern Christmas paper. Oh, you guys are wonderful. I'm glad you had a good time today. And like I said, please get out your stash and create some cards. Make some things for the people that you love. And I will see you next time. Thank you very much.